Hello, hello. We're going to talk about some mental health issues today. Everybody has mental health issues today, right? Everybody's depressed. Everybody's ADHD, autistic, all sorts of fucking shit. But some people have real problems. And it's increasing more. You know, more people are using therapy, more people are using all of these external sources, and I think I have some pretty severe problems, not to the point to where it's a crisis, but it can be. And I kind of want to tell you what that feels like. I think I gave the best description of this to an old coworker of mine yesterday, where he was asking me how I was doing, and I told him, I said, like, you know, when you have mental health issues that get to a point to where it kind of impacts your life pretty severely, people don't know how to deal with that. That's a very hard thing for other people to deal with, and it's a very guilt-ridden feeling that you have when you know you're the one causing the stress for other people. You know, it's kind of the reason why I stopped ignoring it, because I ignored it to the point to where I was like, if I just ignore it and I just keep fucking trucking along, you know, it's gonna go away. It's gonna be fine. You know, like, you're just gonna fucking, you're in the waves right now, and right now you're just in the high stress wave, and it's gonna come back down and everything's gonna be fine. That doesn't always happen. You know, sometimes you get to a breaking point. Sometimes you've been broken for so long. Sometimes you're just the fucking car that's needed maintenance for so long, but like you can still kind of drive it, and then all of a sudden your car starts catastrophically failing, and now you have to take it to the mechanic, and now it's even more expensive because now you have damage to other parts of your body. You know, I feel it feels very much like that. It feels like, you know, the way people interact with you makes you kind of feel like a dog that has bitten people. Even if you haven't like actually been violent towards anybody, if you have bursts of anger and rage and depression and like all sorts of fun stuff like that, you know, people treat you like a dog that like is super skittish and like, you know, like, I gotta, like, we're gonna do this, is that cool? No? Okay, well, you do you then. Like you can't, it's very hard to reinforce people that like you still have normal thoughts and feelings, and it's hard to explain to people that like there are moments where you are okay and you are functional, and then there are moments where you're not, and like people just kind of like come to you with the assumption that you're probably not okay, or like people are very stressed out, and then you get stressed because you're spending a lot of time trying to make sure that they know that they're okay. And I think this is kind of the reason why most people just fucking deal with it until they die of a heart attack or kill themselves, and everyone's like, I don't know why he killed himself. Because society and the way we interact with each other almost kind of reinforces that mentality, which is ignore it, truck along, deal with it. You can't deal with it, well, then there's something wrong with you. And it becomes very frustrating. The most frustrating thing for me, because I'm a very stubborn person and I like to be right, is when you have complaints and when you have problems that you're trying to address and when you have things that you want to work on, it becomes easier for people to dismiss your concerns, your complaints, your problems that aren't necessarily causing you mental duress or anything like that. But, you know, like, people don't get along, and like you have to be able to interact with those people, and you have to be able to like confront people. You have to be able to tell people like, hey, this is bothering me. Hey, that is bothering me. Hey, can you not do this? Hey, can you not do that? Hey, is there something I'm doing that's bothering you so I can correct it? Because for a lot of people, especially people, and I feel like this kind of happened at my old job a little bit when it kind of came out, it just becomes an excuse to dismiss your opinions. You know, Shutter Island said it best, where there's no better person There's no better person to commit a crime in front of. Well, I don't know what he said, but basically, like, crazy people are perfect because you can do something in front of them, and when they say something, people just kind of assume it's a crazy raving, right? Like, you don't even have to be crazy for people to dismiss you. You just gotta be fucking off just enough to where it's known for other people, and it's known to cause you problems, you know? Because I still had a lot of complaints on my last job, and those complaints were very easily dismissed because of my mental health issues, and people just wanted to look at it and say, like, well, you're obviously just mentally ill. I'm like, no, you still fucking suck. And a lot of people here are still fucking depressed. You just don't want to admit it. But a lot of my stress also came from my job, because of a lot of reasons, and it just became something that ruined my reputation there, and it became something that made people look at me in a way that I didn't want them to look at me. I didn't want people to look at me in this particular way, but I got to a point where I just couldn't do it anymore. And there are a lot of people who have both said that they support me and that they love me and that they're going to be there for me, but when they're clearly going through something to a point to where I can see it, right? Because if you have depression, you can see it in other people. If you have like certain ways of thinking, like it becomes easier to recognize in others because people don't really know what to look for. And sometimes it's obvious, but other times it's not. You know, it's easy to tell if somebody's having marriage issues. It's easy to tell if somebody's having issues with their job. It's easy to tell if somebody's feeling discouraged or what's the word I'm thinking of? Self-conscious, because people give context clues when they say things like that, and you say things without realizing it, but you're projecting your internal thoughts a lot of times when you're saying it. And then when you try to be there for them the way they're being there for you, they basically will just tell you, like, no, I don't have time to worry about that. I can't afford to be depressed. I can't afford to do this. I can't afford to do that. And it sucks because I see a lot of those people get to their breaking point, and I'm like, I feel like I saw this a while ago, and I feel like I tried to help you address this, and you didn't. And you can't really get mad at them because I've done the same exact fucking thing with other people. But it's hard because you want to be that good employee. You want to be somebody who doesn't have any problems, and you don't want to be looked at by other people as somebody who has problems, because then you are dismissed. Then you miss out on opportunities because people will look at you like somebody who is a higher liability or who's a higher risk. But also, a lot of these things are things that everybody has to deal with to some extent. It's just, for some people, it gets bigger than others. And I think that people kind of self-destruct in other ways. I think that the way that we approach our problems and the way that we don't allow for balance in our lives causes things to not work out by ignoring them. And my leaving was a decision, and the way I decided to address it was a decision, because I didn't want to be like everybody else in law enforcement, where you just ignore your problems, you become a little bit of an alcoholic, your marriage doesn't work out. Fucking law enforcement officers have a high fucking rate of divorce because of this shit. And a lot of people have a high rate of divorce because they just fucking truck along until they can, you know. And it's like I told my fiance one day when because she was getting mad at me because I'm not really a clean person, and I'm trying to be a cleaner person for her, and I'm trying to make sure I'm staying on top of the chores a little bit better, and make sure I help her out because she wants things to be a certain way, and I want to make sure that she's happy. But I had to explain to her, like, hey, I need you to, because she kept trying to say, like, I want to think of a way to tell you this so that I'm not being rude or inconsiderate. And I told her, and since I told her this, I feel like it's been easier for me to be there for. As I said, like, you know, you can't wait until you're not upset about something, because you're just going to keep getting upset about it. And what happens with a lot of people is, like, you can't ignore a problem until and hope that there's an opportunity to appropriately address something. Like, no, like, addressing problems is a very uncomfortable thing, and you either are in a position where you can address it, or you're in a position where you just can't be there with wherever you are. Like, if she didn't feel comfortable to ever be able to address problems with me, then that would be a relationship that couldn't work out. Same thing at my old job. I didn't feel like I could address problems there anymore. So why the fuck am I going to work there? Because if I have a legitimate complaint, or if I have a concern, or if I have a problem, and I can't address it with you, then why am I here? I think that's what happens, and that's what causes a lot of divorces. I think it causes a lot of issues. I think it's what's causing the uprise in our mental health issues, actually. You know, somebody told me that everybody's depressed, everybody's anxious. Fuck yeah, everybody's depressed and everybody's anxious. Everybody's constantly fucking doing shit to the point to where you, like, nobody has time to just sit there and, like, to slow down life. Slowing down life isn't an option for most people. And we're rushing to do nothing. Like, we don't even do that much. If you really think about it, we don't work that hard. We don't do a whole lot of things. We have hobbies. Like, we rush to go home to watch YouTube or to play video games. We rush to go to places to wait in line. We rush to go out to eat, to wait for food. We rush to do all this, and, like, we don't have as many quiet and calm moments. Everything is noise, distractions, and another reason for you to fucking spend money and do a thing. And that's kind of what our jobs are turning into. That's what our relationships are turning into. That's what everything's turning into. It's just another excuse to speed up your life, to rush everywhere, to ignore your own problems, and to not address anything, because we're going to distract you from those problems. So that when those problems become too much for you to handle, society can label you as a problem. And that's kind of just how I feel about it. You know, I've had a lot of things that I could have dealt with a lot better, but I let what other people think and feel control me and prevent me from addressing it. I have let my worry about my self-image get in the way of me addressing the problem, which that I wasn't happy, that I wasn't confident in myself anymore, that I was in a situation to where it just wasn't working out. It's just move, and that's all it really is. And you got to keep trucking along. You got to keep doing things, and you got to stop being hard on yourself. But society wants to be hard on yourself. Society wants to be strict on yourself. Society wants you to be so strict on yourself that people just give up. I think that's why so many people are fat. I think that's why so many people don't exercise. I think that's why so many people don't have money, because these are problems that could very easily be addressed if they had a little bit more time to think about it and to process it and to, like, make better decisions. But people are so stressed and anxious and going from place to place to place and trying to distract ourselves from our personal problems that they just kind of give up. Like a very heavy person, it's not like it's a surprise to them that they're heavy, but they just give up. They give up because life has kind of beat them into that point, and they either are too tired or just beyond the point of caring about solving that problem. It's the same thing with debt and debit card debt and credit card debt and buying shit you can't afford. Now you just have to work more for things that you don't even necessarily like that much. And you don't have time to really sit there and think, like, why am I buying this? Why do I need this? Why can't I just not buy it and not work the extra fucking 4 hours this week or the second job to help me pay for my credit card debt? I'm like, I don't have credit card debt. I don't have any debt. It's trying to find that way of living your life, which is just so damn hard, because everybody wants you to focus on unimportant shit And nobody wants you to spend time on important things. They want you to spend time on important things, but they want you to lose sleep to do it. And they want you to rush to places to do nothing. Like most jobs today, like I get mad when people say things like work is so important. 90% of a lot of fucking jobs are kind of just you sitting there. Or a lot of jobs just kind of require you sitting there with the occasional task to do. Or they're minor things that you just do over and over and over again. And it feels very much like you're rushing to do nothing, or you're rushing to go nowhere. And because you're rushing, you don't get to address these things. I don't know. Hopefully that made sense to some of you.